everyone, this is Natalia. Today we are going to talk about circles, section 2.3. So the standard form of equation of a circle with radius r and center hk is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. For example, so if we have our circle, it's a unique circle, if it's in the origin here, h and k will be equals to 0. So r is going to represent the radius, that is the distance between the center, are one of the points over the green line on the circle, one of the points on the circle. So example number 1, we have a circle with radius 5 and center 1 and negative 8. So the radius is 5, r is equals to 5, h will be equals to 1, and negative 8, k is equals to negative 8. So we plug in the values on our equation and we get x minus 1 squared plus y plus a squared equals to 5 squared, that is 25. So look at here, it's y minus k. So, and k is equals to negative a. So negative, negative, it's positive. So we have here the graph. When you want to graph it, first try to find the center, and after you can find the points like looking at the radius, you can find the circle around. So now, what if we want to find the intercept of the circle? So we want to find these values, the intercepts with the y-axis and the intercept with the x-axis. So here we probably will not going to find intercept with the x because it's not tangent, but here we should find the values of here and this other value. For this, we need to do the following. So we have x minus 1 squared plus y plus a squared equals to 25. That was the example number 1. So to find the x-intercept, if any, let y equals to 0 and solve for x. So we take our equation and we let y equals to 0. So here we got this. So 8 plus 0, 8, and 8 squared, 64. Now we subtract 64 from both sides of the equation and we get 25 minus 64 equals to negative 39. Now we need to get rid of the square, so we need to get the square root in both sides. Remember, when we do the square root, you need to, don't forget the plus or minus. So we get a square root of negative 39. But we cannot get the square root of a negative number. And then, remember, just positive or like greater or equal than 0. So here, we say that we don't have x-intercepts because you got the square root of a negative number. And you saw on the graph that we don't have x-intercepts. Now, let's find the y-intercepts. For this, you need to let now x be equal to 0. And you solve for y. So, again, you come back to the original. And now y is not b equals to 0, it's going to be x. So x equals to 0, we have 0 minus 1 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals to 25. So negative 1 times negative 1 equals to 1. And we get, now we subtract 1 from both sides. We have 25 minus 1 equals to 24. Now we need to get rid of the square, so it will be y plus 8 equals to plus or minus the square root of 24. We get a square root in both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus, if not you will not get both intercepts. So now 24, you can write it down like 6 times 4. 6 times 4 equals to 24. So why do we do that? So because we know what is the square root of 4, that is 2. So you can get the square root of 4 is equals to 2. And you leave the square root of 6 like that. So if you take your calculator, you can find that the square root of 6 times 2 is something approximately 4.899. So it will be negative 8 plus 4.899, you get negative 3. And negative 8, minus 8 minus 4.8999, you get negative 12.899. So now we found both the intercepts with the y axis. Okay, so far we have been working with the standard form, but now we're gonna learn what to do with the general form of the equation of a circle. So the general form of the equation, it is something like this. You have x squared, y squared, and you have a number multiplied by x and a number multiplied by y, and you have the constant. So let's look one example. We have x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 6y plus 12 equals to 0. So we want to get from the general form to the standard form. For this, we need to, the first step is taking the constant in the other side of the equation. So we subtract negative 12 in both sides. Now, we get x squared, we make groups. So everything that it has an x goes in this group, everything that it has an y goes in this group. Why do we do that? Because now we can use the method of completing the squares. How can we do that? It's pretty fun. We have 4x, the number that is here next to the x is what we're gonna use for here to get this 4, and the negative 6 is what we're gonna use to get the 9. So how do we do it? We take the number that is here, 4, and we divide it by 2 and you square it. So it's 4 divided by 2 equals to 2, 2 times 2 equals to 4. Here we got the same 4. But here, for example, we have negative 6 divided by 2. We always divide by 2 and square that number. So it would be negative 3 times negative 3 is equals to 9. But remember, once we do something in the left side of the equation, we need to do it on the right side too. So we add here negative 4 and we add here negative 9. So now we need to add here negative 4 and add here negative 9. So now there are two ways to get to this step. One is, if you look this, you say, oh, I need two numbers that when I multiply then I get 4, and when I add then I get 4. So it will be 2. Or you can take the number that is inside of the parentheses before you square it. So in both cases, yeah, it's 2. So x plus 2 squared. In this case here, negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So that's what you get here. And look, it works. If you take negative 3 times negative 3, you get the 9. And negative 3, like minus 3, minus 3, minus 6. And here you get 13 minus 12 equals to 1. So wonderful, now we got the standard form. So now we know with this equation, here it was hard to know what was the radius or what was the center. But now that we have it in this form, we know, oh, the radius is 1 and the center is in negative 2 plus 3. Okay, now let's go with example 3. We have x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 2y plus 9 equals to 0. So remember, what was the first step? We need to get the constant in the other side of the equation. So we get the 9, we subtract 9 in both sides, and we make groups. We get all the x together, all the y's together, and we have, it will be, now we can complete the squares. So to complete the squares, we use the negative 6 that is over here. That's why we divide negative 6 divided by 2 squared is equals to 9. That's the number that we put here. And remember, if we add it here, we need to add it over here too. Don't forget, whatever you do on the left side of the equality, you have to do it on the right side too. So now, we have y squared plus 2y plus 1. How did we get the 1? Again, you take the 2, and you divide by 2, and you square it. So it will be 1 squared equals to 1. So for the next step, the fastest way is just taking the number that you have inside of the parentheses here. So it will be negative 6 divided by 2, negative 3. 2 divided by 2, 1. So now and if you FOIL this, you get this answer, and if you FOIL this, you get this. So now the 9's cancel, and you get 1. So what do we know? We know that the radius is equals to 1, and the center of the circle is 3 and negative 1. Okay, So we have one more thing to cover. So we have find the general equation of a circle. Okay, so in this case, we don't have an equation. We just have 2 points. We have the center and we have a point on the graph. Like we have here, this center, and you have this point. But you don't have the equation, you don't know what is the radius, so we need to find the radius. And how do we do that? We find the distance between the center and that point. So the distance is, you take each point, x, it will be like x1 minus x2, so it will be 4 minus 1 squared, plus y, like y1 minus y2, so it will be negative 2 minus minus 2, so it will be positive square. So this part is 0, 4 minus 1 equals to 3, and 3 squared is equals to 9. So square root of 9 is equals to 3. We found the distance, we found r. The distance between these 2 points is equals to 3. So now we have the center and we have the radius. So we can find the standard form. So the standard form is equals to, remember, x minus this number over here, so it will be 1 squared, plus y minus this number over here. So minus minus, positive, plus 2. And the radius is squared, r squared. So it will be 3 times 3, 9. In order to get, that was the standard form. But the question was about the general equation. So to get the general equation, we FOIL this number over here. So it is x squared. Is the first one is squared, so x squared. Plus 2 times the first one times the second one, so it will be negative 2x, plus the second one is squared, so it will be 1. Now we FOIL this, it will be y squared plus 4 times y plus 4, and equals to 9. So we get all the constants together. It will be, you subtract 9 in this side, and you get negative 9 plus 4 plus 1 equals to negative 4. Okay, so that's, now we get the general form of the equation. The general form. And let's do one more example. Okay, example number 4. The center, so now we have a circle with the center at the origin. So here will be 0, 0, like the center is 0, 0, and containing the point negative 2 and 3. So now we need to find the distance between negative 2 and 3 from 0, 0. So in order to do that, we get negative 2 minus 0 squared plus 3 minus 0 squared. So it will be negative 2 times negative 2, you get 4, plus 9 equals 13. So we have a square root of 13. So the standard form is like x minus 0 is equals to x, and y minus 0 is equals to y. So it's just x squared plus y squared equals to r squared. But you know that it's a square root of 13, so square root cancels with the square, and we just get 13. And the general form is pretty similar. We just get the constant in the other side, so it will be x squared plus y squared minus 13 equals to 0. Thank you so much for watching the video. We're gonna keep working with this student class, so if you have questions, please let me know, and I will see you in class. Bye bye.